Okay, welcome. I'm gonna do a video for success on basic surgical scrubbing and prepping. So, you have to shave and clip your patient in a separate area than the surgery table because you don't want that hair flying all over the surgery suite. So for the purpose of this video, we're gonna pretend that this man is not on the surgery table. So, you would take your clippers. The one I'm going to show you for is a spay, which usually we shave from the xiphoid process, which is the bottom of the ribs, to halfway in between the hips, the pubis. Now, at this point, they'd already be sedated. The vet tech would already have done the induction of anesthesia and intubated them. They'd be being monitored, the whole nine. So, you would take your clippers. You always want to clip. It's going to go faster if you clip against the grain of the hair, not with. Okay? And you always want to make it an even shape. One, it looks better to the client, it's more professional, and two, it's easier to keep sterile if it's an even shape. So that being said, I wouldn't shave a diamond or I wouldn't shave a circle. You're going to shave a square, usually. So I have my clippers. Clipping the hair, right? And the point of this is to get it as hairless as possible, okay? Because the surgeon will literally be cutting into that, so you don't want any hair on the surface getting in. That can take a while, so you do need to be careful, and you definitely can cause razor burn. One way you can prevent razor burn is taking the clippers and feeling the blade. If it gets hot, switch it out, or spray it with a lubricant, which I believe I have a common one here. No, I do not. There's one called Cool Lube that we use a lot. Cool Lube. So, I don't think I have. Okay, you always use a 40 blade for surgery because that's going to get the hair the closest. Okay, so my hair is shaved. The patient is shaved. The patient's asleep. That's great. Next, you're going to take a vacuum of some kind and vacuum up the hair. Or I've seen people use lint rollers, which is crazy if you think about it, but it doesn't work. So let me grab my lint roller. Now again, everything related to surgery should only be used for surgery. So if you have like a shop vac, you really should have it be a surgical shop vac when you're vacuuming up the hair. Okay, so if you're gonna use your lint roller, you roll your lint off your patient. He's still got hair, so this isn't great. Okay, so now he's shaved and he's gotten all the excess hair off that we can. We're gonna transport him to the surgery table. This takes two people because he is sedated, he is intubated, right? And so you can't move a sedated patient or intubated patient by yourself. You need someone to move the anesthesia machine, and you need someone to help the patient, and sometimes the patient themselves actually needs two people. Now, you're never going to move a patient when the anesthesia machine is connected to the endotracheal tube. That's very dangerous. The tube can twist and shift or come out or go in too far. It's very dangerous. So you're always going to disconnect the anesthesia machine when you're moving the patient. For him, I'd probably pick him up like this. Though because it's not sterile yet, you can flip that. Okay, so he's in surgery. You've reconnected him. You and the vet tech have reconnected him to the anesthesia machine, made sure he's on the correct plane of anesthesia, that his vitals are good, and he's stable. Now you've got to sterilely scrub him. Most people use chlorhexidine surgical scrub and chlorhexidine solution. The scrub is going to be the soap, and the solution is going to be the liquid rinse. You cannot use tap water because tap water is not sterile. Here is the chlorhexidine scrub, okay? And here is the chlorhexidine solution. I'm gonna pour it into a bowl so you can see. I worked at a place that did use alcohol to rinse, but that's not very common because it is very irritating to the skin. Now, chlorhexidine works using contact time. Meaning the longer it sits, the better it works, the more it disinfects, okay? So, You usually have 2 bowls. Sometimes they're pre-made, sometimes they're not. And then you put a little bit of the scrub in one. You are going to mix it with tap water, which will disinfect it and make it less sticky. And a little bit of the solution. You don't really have to mix the solution with water if it's truly a liquid. So let me go put a little bit of water in here. Now, we are pretending that Charlie here is getting a spay surgery or an ovarial hysterectomy, which is an abdominal surgery. So we're going to be doing a target or bullseye pattern scrub. Okay. Now, before I do that, should I tie this patient down? Definitely. We need to secure the patient. He might, because he's so deep chested, if this were a real dog, he's gonna have a hard time sitting on his back. So we might use a V-trough, or a taco, as some people call them, to keep him secure. But usually there's gonna be specific tie downs. Some places use leashes. My little trick, you hold the leash like this in your hand. And then you wrap the other one around. Wrap the edge around. So wrap around, hold, okay? Kind of like a snake. You put it over, the first loop over, and the second one over, and then you pull it tight. The reason that works is because it's pressure in 2 places, not just one. If you put the tight pressure in one place, all the blood flow would be cut off. But if you put it in 2, it works better. So, once again, through the hole, around your arm, holding it this way, grab the pet, slide them both off. Sometimes you'll have to pull through, and it creates, see how it's 2, 1, 2. Versus if it was just this, it would be too tight, okay? So if you don't like that, my brain doesn't work always. You can just do one and then twist it around so that there's that crossover, and then grab it with that hand and pull it. That works too. So you tie down all 4 limbs like that. Some places have ratchet hooks. Most places you're just gonna have to loop it. These are dollar store hooks, so I don't have a ratchet. So once again, pulling it through. You're gonna do all 4 limbs. Because one, that way if the patient wakes up, they can't go anywhere, but it also stabilizes the patient from twisting around during surgery. So clearly I've forgotten how to do anything, but anyway, you get the point. On, twist around with the cross, grab and push. Tie it down. Now, at all points during this, you're gonna, even if you are not the primary monitor person, surgical monitor, anesthesia monitor, you are still in surgery. It is still your responsibility to keep an eye on the patient. Now, you will have a pulse ox going. Once again, around, twist over with the cross, pull. All right, you will have a pulse ox going. Pulse ox measures the pulse, which is the heart rate, and the oxygen level. Usually it's clipped to the tongue or the ear. If it is clipped to the ear, you need to put alcohol in it. If you're really having trouble getting readings, you can clip it to the toes. So, this is a tiny little human pulse ox. SpO2 measures how well your blood is oxygenated. So in this case, let's take a minute, but it usually will beep with each heart rate. So my heart rate is 103 and my SpO2 is 98. That's very good. You want it to be high. Low 90s, high 80s, that's when you're starting to get concerned. Anything lower than that really is a danger. Okay, so get your patient tied down. Now we can scrub. You're gonna always start with the surgical scrub when you're doing a target or pattern, okay? Because that's the soap. You always start with soap first. It doesn't make sense to rinse off and then do soap. So I like to, wherever the surgeon is going to do their incision, for a spay, it's going to be lower in the abdomen. It's not going to be higher because the uterus and ovaries are lower. Start with one line. You're not crossing over or repeating any sections that you've already done. The point of this is to push the dirt away, okay? Obviously, you're not going to touch it with your hands. And then a circle around. You see how I'm not crossing back over? Around. You want to get bigger than you think you do. You don't need to scrub to the hair because he or she is not going to do surgery in the hair. But you do need to get all the bare hair part of the skin. So you'll do that with the scrub, and then you'll rinse it off with the solution. You can touch the parts that are not sterile. See how I have my hand here to keep them still? Now that is considered one. The scrub and the solution together, that's considered one set, I guess, one section. You need to do that at least 3 times for it to be considered fully scrubbed. And then really you need to do it and let it sit because of contact time. Now, then the surgeon would probably, they like for us to get it all ready and then they hop in. They tell you what pack they wanted, what blade they wanted, what size drape, or if they wanted a drape, what gown. Our job is to take care of the patient and to make sure everything's taken care of. Now, if this were an ortho surgery, orthopedic surgery, it is going to be on the leg of the patient. Oh, I ruined my doll. Usually it's on a leg. It doesn't have to be a leg. I guess it technically could be spine, but most of the time in general practice, when you're doing an ortho surgery, it's on a leg. Now, all surgery centers, surgery suites, are going to have a light because surgeons need a lot of light. What you're going to do is pretend this is the light, hang that leg up it would be higher, but you'd hang that leg and make sure it stayed. It would be a lot more convincing in a real clinic. But hang it. Why do you think we're hanging it? Well, I can't stand there and hold it the whole surgery. That's not gonna work. Plus, I'm not sterile. Plus, there's human error, right? So the leg needs to be secured up off the table, up off the other surgical sites, and that could be not sterile, and available. Sometimes you use a rope, usually you use tape or vet wrap. So then you'd shave from the side of the incision. If this is an ACL repair, CCL repair, it's gonna be around the stifle of the knee. Shave and get a good margin. Margin means like how big. You're gonna need to shave and scrub more than you think in case of accidents or unexpected issues, and because it's better safe than sorry, right? So you'd you'd shave, again, not in the surgery area. Shave more than you think, and you'd scrub. When you're scrubbing, you're gonna use that same target pattern, or usually you're gonna use the same target pattern, but you can also go proximal to distal, because usually when you're doing orthopedic surgery, it's more proximal, okay? But really you should use the target pattern. And for perianal, which means around the anus, usually the pet is in a sternal recumbency and the tail is tied back. Pretend that's the anus. You're not going to scrub over the anus. Why would we not scrub over the anus? Well, the anus is dirty. So even if we're scrubbing it, it's going to be dragging that dirt everywhere. Depends on which side you're doing, or if you're doing both sides. But you will start and you'll go one side over the anus, around, and then circle. Or one side over the anus and around. I hope that cleared up some things for you. I enjoy this model a lot. This sequence a lot. And please let me know if you have any questions. Thank you.